When a woman ignores you, your first instinct may be to chase her, to question what went wrong, to prove your worth. But let me tell you something important. Silence is power. Don't fall into the trap of thinking you have to win her attention back. That's ego talking, hers and yours. And the only way to destroy an inflated ego is not by reacting, but by reclaiming your energy. When someone pulls away, don't call, don't send 10 messages trying to decode her silence. That only gives her control and confirms that her absence affects you deeply. Instead, detach. Let her feel your absence. Let her wonder what you're doing, who you're becoming. Let her silence echo into a world where you're too busy becoming the best version of yourself to even notice. When a woman ignores you, it's not a sign for you to shrink. It's a test to see if you'll forget who you are, and the answer is never. The real game changer isn't playing hard to get, it's being hard to forget. That happens when you step into your confidence, focus on your mission, and keep moving forward without resentment, without drama, and without chasing. Because a man who respects himself never has to fight for respect from others. Act with silence, act with strength, act with self-worth. That's how you destroy ego, by refusing to feed it. When someone you care about starts to ignore you, especially a woman you may have feelings for, it can stir up a storm of emotions, confusion, frustration, and even a sense of rejection. The natural impulse is to react, to demand answers, to plead for attention or clarity. But this is the moment where true strength is tested, not in how loudly you respond, but in how calmly you remain silent. Silence isn't weakness. It's one of the most powerful tools you possess. When someone ignores you, they often expect a reaction. They expect you to chase, to break down, to show that their absence has disturbed your peace. And when you don't give them that satisfaction, it shakes their ego, because silence creates space, it creates mystery, and most importantly, it maintains your dignity. Reacting emotionally may feel satisfying in the moment, but it rarely brings the result you want. It pushes people further away, makes you appear desperate, and reinforces the power they think they have over you. But when you stay quiet, not out of fear, but out of strength, you communicate that your worth is not up for debate. You show that your emotional world is not dependent on someone else's presence or absence. Silence allows you to take a step back and evaluate. Is this person truly showing you the respect you deserve? Are they engaging in healthy communication, or are they playing games? When you choose not to respond immediately, you give yourself time to gain clarity, to protect your energy, and to regain control of the situation. In a world obsessed with fast replies and instant reactions, silence can feel uncomfortable, but it's in that discomfort where real power lies. People remember how you handle being ignored. If you crumble and reach out repeatedly, you give away your value. But if you remain composed, grounded, and unaffected on the surface, you become a mystery they can't quite solve. They begin to wonder what you're thinking, what you're doing, and why their silence hasn't broken you. That's when the power dynamic shifts, not through manipulation, but through self-respect. Silence also reflects maturity. It shows emotional intelligence. Not everything requires a response, especially when the behavior doesn't deserve one. You're not punishing them, you're protecting yourself. You're choosing peace over drama, value over validation. You're refusing to participate in a game where your feelings are used for someone else's ego boost. The more you practice silence in the face of disrespect, the stronger your emotional core becomes. And with that strength comes freedom. The freedom to walk away from what doesn't serve you, the freedom to remain calm when others expect you to lose control, and the freedom to attract people who appreciate your presence without needing to test it first. So when you're being ignored, don't panic. Don't reach out in desperation. Stay silent, stay grounded, and let your absence speak volumes. The message will be received loud and clear. When someone ignores you, especially someone you're emotionally invested in, the urge to seek validation can become overwhelming. You might find yourself checking your phone constantly, rereading past messages, or even considering reaching out one more time just to get a response. But chasing after validation in these moments is a trap. It doesn't fix anything. It only feeds the other person's ego and diminishes your own sense of worth. Validation is a natural human need. We all want to feel seen, heard, and appreciated. But when that validation starts coming coming from a place of insecurity, it becomes dangerous. It means you're placing your value in someone else's hands, someone who isn't currently respecting or acknowledging you. And the more you chase that validation, the more you reinforce the idea that their opinion defines your self-worth. This only empowers them and disempowers you. When someone is ignoring you, especially intentionally, there's often a psychological game being played. Maybe they're trying to gain control, test your reaction, or elevate their sense of importance. Every time you reach out, try to explain yourself, or ask why they've gone silent, you confirm to them that their silence is working. They feel in control and their ego gets a boost. It becomes less about solving the issue and more about keeping you emotionally hooked. Choosing not to chase validation is not about playing hard to get. It's about knowing your value so deeply that you don't need external approval to feel whole. When you resist the urge to chase, you're saying, I don't need you to see me to know I exist. I don't need your attention to believe in my worth. That's a powerful message, and it shifts the energy immediately. People are drawn to those who are confident in their own skin, those who don't flinch when someone pulls away. When you stop trying to prove yourself, when you stop explaining, begging, or apologizing for things that aren't your fault, you regain your balance. You send the message that you won't participate in one-sided emotional games, that you won't lower yourself to beg for someone's time or attention. The truth is, the validation you're seeking from others is often a reflection of the validation you haven't given yourself. So instead of texting them, turn inward. Work on your goals. Focus on your growth. Pour into yourself the energy you're tempted to pour into them. Because when you rise up with confidence and self-respect, you no longer need anyone to validate your existence. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because you've stopped giving your power away. By standing tall and holding back, you protect your dignity, maintain control over your emotions, and send a clear message. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see it. You don't chase attention, you attract it by being completely secure in who you are, with or without their response. Detaching with purpose is not about giving up or becoming cold-hearted. It's about making a conscious decision to protect your peace, your self-respect, and your emotional well-being. When someone starts ignoring you or treats you in a way that makes you feel unimportant, detaching isn't an act of revenge, it's an act of self-care. It's saying to yourself, I deserve better than confusion, inconsistency, and emotional games. In relationships or emotional situations, attachment can sometimes blur your judgment. You may overlook red flags, tolerate disrespect, or cling to the idea of what could be instead of accepting what actually is. When you're deeply attached to someone, their silence can feel unbearable, like a wound that keeps reopening. But staying emotionally tied to someone who doesn't value you only leads to more pain and disappointment. That's where detachment comes in, not as a defense mechanism, but as a way to realign with your true self. Detachment with purpose means stepping back, not out of anger, but with clarity. It's realizing that your happiness doesn't depend on someone else's attention or approval. It's the understanding that love, respect, and communication should be mutual, and if they're not, it's okay to walk away. You begin to understand that someone's decision to ignore you says more about them than it does about you. You're not chasing answers anymore. You're not fighting for a space in someone's life who's already showing you that you don't matter to them the way you should. When you detach, you reclaim the energy that was being drained by confusion and emotional dependency. That energy can now be redirected into things that help you grow. Your goals, your passions, your health, and your future. You start showing up for yourself in ways you once waited for someone else to do. And ironically, that's when people often start noticing your worth, when you're no longer begging them to see it. Detaching doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to control the outcome. You stop needing to be chosen by someone who can't see your value. You stop internalizing their behavior as a reflection of your worth. It's about trusting that what's meant for you will never require you to sacrifice your dignity or chase it endlessly. You begin to live in a space of peace instead of pressure, and that peace becomes your new standard. You'll find that with purposeful detachment, you gain a new perspective, you see things more more clearly, you stop romanticizing the situation, and start recognizing patterns that no longer serve you. This awareness helps you build stronger emotional boundaries and makes it easier to say no to things that don't align with the life you're building. You learn that detaching isn't about creating distance from others, it's about coming home to yourself. And once you're at peace with who you are, no one's silence or rejection can shake your foundation. When someone ignores you or pulls away emotionally, it's easy to fall into the trap of self-doubt. You begin questioning your worth, your actions, and everything you thought was going well. But instead of spiraling into insecurity, that moment of emotional distance can actually become a powerful turning point. It's the perfect opportunity to shift your focus away from seeking approval and towards something far more valuable, your own self-growth. Focusing on self-growth means redirecting the time and energy you were once investing in someone else and turning it in. It means committing to becoming a stronger, wiser, more confident version of yourself, not to impress anyone or win someone back, but because you deserve to live as the best and fullest version of who you are. Growth happens when you stop chasing people and start chasing purpose. It begins when you realize that your identity is not defined by who stays or who walks away, but by how you choose to respond in the silence. Self-growth requires discipline, reflection, and action. It might look like setting goals that excite you, learning new skills, improving your physical health, healing old wounds, or simply taking the time to understand yourself better. It's about becoming emotionally independent so that no matter who comes or goes from your life, you remain steady. You're not looking to be completed by someone else. You're becoming whole on your own. When you focus on growing yourself, your mindset begins to shift. You stop seeing rejection as failure and start seeing it as redirection. You understand that being ignored is not the end of the world. It's an invitation to build a world that doesn't revolve around someone else's attention. The more you grow, the less you crave things that used to hurt you. The more you evolve, the more you realize that your peace is more valuable than proving your worth to anyone. Self-growth also builds a quiet confidence. It's not loud or showy, but it's deeply rooted. You walk differently, you speak with more purpose, you attract better energy because you're no longer operating from a place of lack. You become someone who inspires respect, not by demanding it, but by living in a way that commands it naturally. And the best part, you start attracting people who value growth too, those who want to build, not play games. When you put yourself first and commit to becoming the best version of who you are, you stop reacting emotionally to people who don't treat you right. You don't need closure, attention, or explanations. Your growth becomes your response, your progress becomes your proof, and your glow becomes undeniable. People notice. Life shifts, opportunities appear, but most importantly, you change. You rise above what tried to break you and step into a life where your happiness no longer depends on someone else's recognition, but on your own deep, unshakable sense of self. When someone pulls away from you, especially someone you cared for deeply, your first instinct might be to close the distance. You want to fix it, to reach out, to make things feel normal again. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Let her feel your absence, not as a punishment, but as a necessary step for you to regain your balance and let the reality of your worth speak louder than words ever could. When you remove yourself from someone's space after being ignored or mistreated, it creates a vacuum. If you've been a source of support, attention, or love, your absence becomes noticeable. But that only happens when you truly walk away without constantly checking in, without dropping hints, and without lingering emotionally. People only start to reflect on what they had when it's no longer available on demand. And it's in that silence, in that space you leave behind, where they begin to realize what your presence actually meant. Your absence is not just physical, it's emotional, mental, and spiritual. It's the removal of your attention, your kindness, your care, all of which they may have taken for granted. Sometimes people need to sit with the emptiness to appreciate the value of what once filled it. And they can't do that if you're still halfway there, still sending messages, still making sure they're okay while you're breaking inside. Letting her feel your absence is about reclaiming your energy and shifting the focus back to yourself. It's choosing to let go of control and stop managing someone else's perception of you. You don't need to remind her of your worth, you just need to stop proving it. When you step back, It allows clarity to rise. If she truly cared, she'll notice. If she was playing games, she'll lose interest when the attention disappears. Either way, you get the truth, and the truth sets you free. People tend to remember how you made them feel, but they also remember how it felt when you stopped making them feel anything at all. That absence becomes its own message, stronger, clearer, and more respectful than any argument or emotional plea. It says, I care about myself enough to walk away from what hurts. I won't force myself where I'm not valued. This doesn't mean cutting someone off in anger or bitterness. It means stepping away with grace, knowing that your worth is not tied to anyone's ability to see it in the moment. It's trusting that distance can teach what presence could not, and it's believing that if someone truly values you, your absence will echo louder than your constant presence ever did. Let her feel the quiet where your voice used to be. Let her notice the space where your support once stood, not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you've learned to stop giving your presence to people who don't know what to do with it. There's a powerful difference between being unforgettable and being needy, and understanding that difference can change the way you approach relationships entirely. Being unforgettable means your presence leaves a lasting impression, one built on confidence, self-respect, and authenticity. On the other hand, being needy stems from insecurity, a craving for constant reassurance, and a fear of being alone. When someone ignores you, the temptation to act needy may feel natural, but it's the quickest way to lose respect and attraction. Instead, focus on becoming someone who can't be ignored. Someone whose value speaks so loudly, silence becomes uncomfortable in your absence. Needy behavior often arises from the fear of losing connection. You might overtext, over-apologize, or go out of your way to win back attention. But the more you push, the more the other person pulls away. Neediness comes off as desperation, and desperation never attracts, it repels. People can sense when you're clinging out of fear rather than standing in your power. It gives off the impression that your happiness depends entirely on their response. And that's not attractive, it's exhausting. And it signals that you're willing to compromise your dignity just to feel seen. Being unforgettable, however, is about leaving an emotional imprint that lingers even when you're not around. It's about walking in your truth, knowing your value, and refusing to beg for attention or validation. Unforgettable people don't chase, they attract. They don't plead for love, they embody it. They don't lower their standards to be accepted. They rise so high in their self-worth that only those who truly see them can reach them. When someone ignores you, that's your cue to pull back, not lean in. Create space. Use that time to invest in yourself. Work on your goals, your mindset, your health, your purpose. The more you pour into yourself, the more magnetic you become. People remember how you carried yourself during the silence. They remember how you respected yourself enough not to beg, and often they come back, not because you chased them, but because you didn't. Unforgettable doesn't mean being loud or dramatic, but it means being emotionally intelligent, grounded, and rare in a world full of emotional chaos. It's being calm when others expect a reaction. It's showing strength when they test your limits. It's knowing when to speak and when to walk away. And when you move with that kind of energy, you don't just stand out, you become impossible to forget. The truth is, you don't need to fight for someone to see your value. You just need to show that your value remains whether they see it or not. That's what being unforgettable looks like. It's not about proving yourself. It's about knowing yourself. And once you tap into that kind of self-awareness and confidence, you'll never need to beg for anyone's attention again, because your presence will speak for itself and your absence will say even more. Here's a powerful and classy ending for your speech: how to act when a woman ignores you, destroy her ego, tying all the ideas together while keeping the tone strong, controlled, and self-respecting. So when she ignores you, don't fall apart, rise above it. Don't chase, don't beg, and don't explain yourself to someone who chooses silence over honesty. Instead, choose you. Let your silence speak louder than your words. Let your growth remind her of what she lost. Let your absence echo in the places where your presence once brought warmth. You don't destroy her ego by playing games. You do it by walking away with your dignity intact, your head held high, and your focus firmly on becoming the best version of yourself. Because in the end, nothing stings more than realizing you lost someone who never needed to prove their worth to begin with.